Hello, chismosas y chismosos, and welcome back to Bay Area Housewife of True Crime, where I like to tell the stories of the real cucuys and lloronas of the world. I'm Audrey, a paralegal turned stay-at-home mom that loves true crime. The cases I cover are wild, topics may be triggering. Viewer and listener discretion is strongly advised. The people mentioned are innocent until proven guilty in court. With all that being said, grab your hot Cheetos and let's get started on today's case. Imagine growing up without a dad and thinking that you were a product of rape. That is what happened in today's true story. In August of 1993, 31-year-old Dan Wilson was working at his family business called Wilson Orchard in Iowa City, Iowa. 21-year-old Tara Wilson had recently moved from Dallas, Oregon to Iowa for school. She was attending the University of Iowa in pursuit of a master's degree in music. Tara is the daughter of Dr. Gail Wilson and Catherine Wilson. Tara and her mom visited Wilson Orchard, and as they paid for their apples with a personal check, Dan joked that they must have been their long-lost relatives from Oregon. Tara returned to Wilson Orchard and asked for a part-time job. They hired her, and romance between Dan and Tara sparked almost immediately. They got to know each other well, and she told him that she was a devout Seventh-day Adventist. She was a vegetarian, did not dance, wear makeup, wear jewelry, watch secular movies, or listen to secular music, meaning she only listened and watched religious content. They were unofficially engaged by Thanksgiving and became intimate by Christmas. When Dan flew out to Oregon to meet the parents and her siblings, Tara warned Dan not to kiss her or show any type of physical affection to her during the visit. Tara revealed that she had not told her parents that they were dating. By March of 1994, Tara started acting differently. When Dan asked if she was pregnant, she told him she had known for 2 weeks. Dan proposed to Tara again, and she again said yes. In May of 1994, Tara told her family that she was pregnant. They were not supportive. In fact, Tara's family came back and got her in July of 1994 and took her back home to Oregon. Tara mailed Dan a letter saying that although she wanted to be with him, she was unsure if it was, quote, God's plan for them to be together. In another letter, she wrote, and I quote, Dan, I love you. Can't wait to be in your arms again. Please pray that I'll be strong and that things will go well. Thank you for your unfailing friendship and love. You are my biggest blessing. Dan was planning another trip to Oregon when he received a box in the mail with an Wilson Orchard sweatshirt that Tara's sister had ripped to shreds. The lovely mail contained a note that read, "This is what you did to my sister." Flabbergasted, Dan called Tara, who apologized for her sister's behavior. Dan had booked his flight to Oregon for August of 1994, and by this time, Tara called him and told Dan not to bother coming at all. In October of 1994, Dr. Gail Wilson wrote Dan a letter accusing him of raping his daughter and even went as far as getting a restraining order against Dan. Dan Wilson is a good man, and he thought that just because things did not work out between them, he expected a harmonious life of co-parenting. The serious allegations affected him. So he hired an attorney from the Oregon area where the restraining order was filed, and through his attorney, Dan Wilson was able to get a court date set for December of 1994. Ashlyn Suri Wilson was born on November 20th, 1994. Tara did not list Dan Wilson as the father on her daughter's birth certificate. This meant he legally had no rights to his own daughter until he proved a paternity test. Even though Dan was still living in Iowa, he traveled and presented himself to a number of custody hearings in Oregon. Tara failed to appear to these court dates, and at the last hearing, the judge granted Dan scheduled visits with his daughter, Ashlyn. Despite arranging these visits with Tara and her family, they would back out at the very last minute. In March of 1995, by divine intervention, Dan's lawyer, Teresa Osias, saw Tara in front of him while in line at the post office. The attorney witnessed his client's accuser and alleged child abductor apply for a passport for Ashlyn and herself. These very devout Seventh-day Adventists had a mission trip in Mexico to go to. Sadly, the passport photo is the first and only picture Dan had ever had of his daughter. On another planned visit with his daughter, Tara's relative showed up instead to tell Dan that Tara and the baby had left in the middle of the night. This turn of events made the Polk County District Attorney contemplate filing criminal charges. However, because Dan had yet to prove Ashlyn was in fact his daughter through a paternity test, no criminal charges were pressed at the time. Dan did not give up, and in September of 1995, a Polk County, Oregon Superior Court judge granted him full custody of his 10-month-old daughter, Ashlyn Suri Wilson. In January of 1996, Ashlyn's abduction was added to the National Center of Missing and Exploited Children. Investigators searched Dr. Gail Wilson's phone records and found nothing until a former receptionist that worked for him came out and said that she drove Tara and the baby to Eugene, Oregon, on the night they disappeared. The doctor's former employee also said that Dr. Gail Wilson would go out of town for several days and told them and left his staff with strict orders not to say he was gone or where he went. The FBI had reason to believe Tara and Ashlyn to have lived in Washington, Montana, and California under assumed names.